Hi there. Welcome to Significant Encounters. This is session number 5, and the title is Lighten the Load. Significant Encounters is a place where, if you've experienced drama or trauma, if you need some encouragement, if you need someone just to hear you, or if you just need a soft place to land, that's what we want to be here for you. Now, the beginning of any journey seems the most difficult, and that's where we're at right at the beginning. What I've learned, what we've all learned, is that we may be packed and ready to go, but that baggage is heavy. Now, this journey will be no different. We are full of doubt and uncertainty. Should I be doing this? Is it even possible to do this? Can I ever really get fixed? Can I ever have any peace? Am I even worth it? Now, we talked earlier about that doubt. We talked about the fact that God created us the way that we are, just the right way. We may have even fully believed it when we learned this information. But as days go by and life happens to us, that baggage seems to get too heavy to carry. We talked in an earlier session about that seed that falls on the rocky ground and it doesn't take root and then the wind just blows it away. And that's what happens here. We talked last time about choices, about choosing what we think is possible and what we think about it. It's not always easy, but it is always possible. Isaiah 55:8 says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts." It's God talking. "Neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord." So, what are his thoughts? The knowledge of God says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. We learned that in our very first introductory session. Here's what the Living Bible says about the Word of God. These weapons can break down every proud argument against God and every wall that can be built to keep men from finding Him. With these weapons, the Word, I can capture rebels, those thoughts that are awful, and bring them back to God and change them into men whose heart's desire is obedience to Christ. In other words, we can change our thoughts to make them do what Christ wants them to do. The Word says so, right there. We just read it. So, in other words, we don't have to tolerate any word that that says God created us differently from the way that He did. Those words are rebels, and those words are lies. And we have the ability to control them. We have the ability to control what we think and to change it more to God's liking. We get to choose to make it obey. Now, we read earlier that our thoughts are not His, but we can certainly make a choice to be thinking more like Him. How do we do that? By reading His Word. Now, I'd be lying if I said that this was an easy turn to take, because it's not. My personal journey turned out to be long and arduous. Can I tell you, though, that it was worth the effort? Let's talk about that baggage. This idea came not from me, but from a story that I heard at a conference, and the story was told by Graham Cook. After hearing this story, I kept pondering it for days and weeks, perhaps even months. And it even comes back now every once in a while when I need it. In my words and in short form, the story Here's the story about the baggage. First, I'll say it was very heavy. Now, in the dictionary, the word baggage, the third definition was this: emotions or thoughts that stem from painful or unpleasant past experiences and that affect one's outlook or behavior. We all have it. Baggage, we all have it. And as Graham says, it was packed by someone who hates our guts, the enemy of our soul. It is heavy and unwieldy. When I looked up unwieldy, it said difficult to use or handle or manage because of the size or weight or shape, often impossible to move. This baggage carries all the hurts and shames and humiliations and indignations and pains and unwarranted comments and criticisms and any other things that cause us to believe ourselves to be less than who God says we are. Now, Graham compared that baggage to what he called proper luggage. Now, proper luggage was packed for us by someone who loves us dearly. That would be God. And wants us to have whatever we need to succeed on our journey. And he would not think of putting things in that luggage that would just add weight. Now, fast forward. After spending quite a little time with the baggage part, I woke up to another thought, one that I could have only had with God's help. All this time, weeks, months, that I'd been working through my baggage, I realized that I wasn't removing anything. I was simply rearranging what was already there. Each rearrange gave me more room for more stuff, more weight. I learned that the only way that I was going to get anywhere would be to get rid of the baggage, get some proper luggage, and repack. I would have to pack it well with whatever God had in mind. Now, this, my friend, was a choice that I had to make. Do you see yourself here as well? Do you have some choices to make? You know, at the airport, extra baggage costs a lot to ship. I'm wondering, what did it cost me? And I'm wondering, what is it costing you? Please make your choice sooner than later. The steps are these. They could take longer or less time, depending on how heavy your baggage is. Number 1, learn what God thinks about you in His Word. Number 2, apply that to your life. Number 3, overcome those bad thoughts from your previous life. Use the Word to do that. And then do it again and again. Every 6 months, every 6 weeks, every 6 days, every 6 minutes. Whatever it takes. Lather, rinse, repeat. As necessary. Now, gradually, you'll learn, you'll know in your knower just what God thinks. And that you can think it too. I believe it is the one thing that we can be responsible for. Here's what the Word says about it in Ephesians 4:23. It says to be renewed in the spirit of your mind and put off your old self, which belongs to your former manner of life and is corrupt through deceitful desires. And to be renewed in the spirit of your minds and to put on a new self, created after the likeness of God and in true righteousness and holiness. In other words, let the Spirit change the way you're thinking. Now, in Romans 12:2, it says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God and what is good, acceptable, and perfect. Now, we learned in lesson 1 of this series that God is all powerful. Since that is the case, what reason would he have to lie to us or to lead us astray? If he says we can renew our minds, then by him, I am most confident that that is possible. In fact, he says this in Matthew 19:26. Jesus looked at them and said, "With man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible." All things. Now, I'm going to leave you with this today. Please consider what you have in your baggage and what you can do to lighten your load. And on our next visit, we'll take a look at what I believe to be one of the top 5 things that weigh us down. Feel free to comment, like, share. You can also find this at significantencounters.com, on Facebook at Significant Encounters,